going to be making something really yummy, and these are my salted caramels. You're going to really love this recipe. So let's get on with the ingredients. 2 cups of granulated sugar, 2 cups of whipping cream. This is 35% cream, 1 cup of corn syrup, a half a cup of unsalted butter, a half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And an optional last ingredient, we're going to be using some fleur de sel on the top of our beautiful soft caramels. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. Into a large pot, I'm going to take my cream and get that right into there. And I want to have about a medium heat going. Okay, that's good. To our heavy cream, I'm going to add in our granulated sugar. I'm going to grab a wooden spoon, and I just want to get all of this combined together here. I've got my salt. I'm going to get that in as well. And then our corn syrup. And the corn syrup really helps in really reducing the amount of crystallization that happens when you're making candy sometimes. If you happen to over-stir or get any little crystals, this will always help if you get a little bit of corn syrup into your recipe. Many recipes do call for this, and it is a good way to go. And now I'll just get all of that nicely stirred in. That is a beautiful mixture at this point. What we want to do now, we want to impart some heat into our mixture and get this going and get it, starting to turn into our beautiful caramel. You can see right now, just with the stirring, you can see how nice this is becoming. So at this point, we want to get this up to a boil. And I want to boil this for about 5 minutes. And that's going to really start bringing out the flavor in the caramel. So right now I can feel that there are still a few crystals in there. So it's okay to stir a little bit quicker at this point. But as soon as you start feeling the mixture is getting a little bit thinner, that means there's a lot more heat getting into the actual mixture. And at that point, you don't really want to stir anymore. So at this point, I just want to continue stirring until I see the mixture start to bubble. Once it starts bubbling, the actual bubbling in the mixture will prevent it from burning on the bottom. But at this point, it's not boiling yet, so I'm just going to keep going at this. You can also increase your heat a little bit to get a little bit more heat into your pot. But once you see it start boiling, then drop your heat to medium again. So this has just started to come up to a boil. And now I'm just going to drop this down to medium again. And you want to let this go for about 5 minutes at this point. We just want to start getting all of those flavors starting to come together. We really want to have a really beautiful caramel flavor going on. So let this go for about 5 minutes. You can put a timer on at this point. So this is 5 minutes later, and I'm going to turn down my element now. And I can actually smell that caramel really being developed. It smells so good. And at this point, we're going to start adding in our butter. So I'm going to slowly start popping this in. And you can see why I'm using a large pot, because it really helps keep all of that stuff down at the bottom. So try and use a pot with high sides. And now I'm just going to gently stir all of that fat, that beautiful butter, into our caramel mixture. So once all of our butter has completely dissolved, what I'm going to do now is I've got a candy thermometer here, and I'm going to get this in. I want to bring this up to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a firm ball stage. So soft ball is 240 degrees, firm ball is 250 degrees. You don't need to have a lot of heat in here. My temperature now, I've got it down at low, and I'm just going to let this slowly go until it hits 250 degrees. At that point, the caramel is done. We're going to take it off the heat, we're going to add in our vanilla, and then we're going to pour it into our pan. So it's very, very simple. So at this point, I'm just going to let this go. This is going to take about 20 minutes, and when it hits 250 degrees, I'll be back. Okay, and I'm looking at my candy thermometer, and I have now 250 degrees. So I'm going to turn my heat off, and we are ready to add in our last ingredient, which is our vanilla. So I'm just going to get this out. So at this point, turn your heat off. That's good. Got my vanilla here, and I'm just going to add that in and just gently stir that in. You will get a little bit of bubbling. This is why it's nice to have a high pot when you're doing caramel. And just mix that in nicely. And that is ready to go. So this is a really nice pot. The handles are actually just warm, so I can actually lift it. I'm going to get my little hot plate out of the way. And here I have a 9x9 tray. This is lined with parchment paper, and I have my little clips. These are just little clips for binders and papers that I got over at Staples. So those are really, really handy in the kitchen. And now we're just going to take our beautiful caramel and just pour that right in here. Hopefully you can see that. And get all of that goodness right into your pan. Okay, and that's good. Oh, that looks great. Now at this point, this is extremely hot, and we cannot add our fleur de sel in at this moment. So I'm going to let this cool probably for about 20 minutes before we do so. So I'm going to let that continue cooling, and then I'll be back. So this is about 15 minutes later. I have my fleur de sel, and I'm just going to open that up. This is some beautiful salt, and I'm just going to take that and just get this all over the top. Just like that. You don't have to put a ton, as much as you want. And that looks good just like that. Alright, so this is about an hour later. I'm going to remove my little pins, my little clips, and with the magic of this parchment paper, you can just lift this whole thing right out. And look at that, clean as a whistle. Just a little rinse with some soap and water and you're done. Let's bring this out. And look at that. That looks amazing. Oh, that is so good. I just had to try the piece. You can either cut it up like this, or you can take the back of your knife and just break it into little pieces. This here, it's firm right now, but as soon as you put it in your mouth, it just gets really nice and chewy. It's really, really good. So just break it up, and then you can store this in an airtight container. That is really yummy. So there we have it. My beautiful homemade caramels. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you try this out. You're going to really, really love this. It is so good. I just can't explain how good this is. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.